least in the West, we believe in freedom of religion as a fundamental human right. Now, together with a lot of other fundamental human rights, like right to life, freedom from torture, so on and so forth, freedom of expression, and so on and so forth. Now, we found out that in practice that the freedom of religion is the most difficult freedom or right. And the reason is because of organized religion. Because the major religions of the world arrogate to themselves the right to proselytize, which is the right to convert other people to their point of view. And in so doing, they arrogate to themselves the monopoly of truth. And this is the problem. The problem, I think, is organized religion. I was going to finish my speech with quoting Gandhi, but I thought Gandhi should be left out because this is a sort of Muslim, Christian sort of seminar. But Gandhi was a Hindu, and Gandhi, although he was a Hindu, he organized prayer groups of all denominations. India has had and has all kinds of religious difficulties and conflicts: Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and Muslims. And Gandhi believed that all of these could stay together and people could pray together. And he organized these sort of prayers. And there was an instance when some Catholics, some Christian Catholics, were trying to convert him to Christianity. And his answer to them was very simple. He says, rather than trying to convert me to Christianity, why don't you pray that I be a good Hindu? And I think that answers your question.
If I understand your question properly, that is regarding how to integrate. Is this the question, basically?
It is how to integrate, but also a practical question before. I think a lot of parents have this question. If we will be breaking with your religion, would you teach your child something wrong? If you're a Muslim and you let her pray the morning prayer in the school, saying that Jesus is the Son of Christ. And, well, since it's you now, that would be directly question.
In Ireland, we're facing a problem at the moment, actually, on this very problem. In that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was no major issue within the schools regarding Muslims living or Muslims being or participating in those schools. And now it's becoming an issue. It's becoming an issue because of the image now that's being portrayed in the world. And certain parents have been insisting on the educational system not to teach Islam in the schools, not to bring Islamic understanding in the schools because they did not want their children indoctrinated in Islam. And the thing is that no Muslim should be insisting on this in the first place. All that Muslims would like to see in schools, as one example I'm giving you, is that Islam should be mentioned as part of the curriculum, part of world religious faiths, and the basics of Islam be taught. No more than that. You don't need no more than that. And equally, those Muslim families who are hesitant to send their children to Catholic schools or be in Catholic schools because they don't want their children to be indoctrinated maybe by the Catholic faith, they're also wrong. There's always room for flexibility. Now, in my own case, my own children, I have sent them to Catholic schools, and I have sent them to Dominican schools, and they have observed and learned everything about the Catholic faith in those schools. There's a reason why I've done that, and that was to inculcate in their hearts tolerance for other faiths. As I mentioned last night as well, whenever I've traveled in the world and my children have been with me, I have brought them to temples, I have brought them to synagogues, I have brought them everywhere. Because I know that is the only way you will put in the hearts of children the tolerance and love for other faiths and have respect for them. So I think that from the Islamic point of view, if Muslim parents are insisting and are afraid, they shouldn't be. We were discussing this on the way here, that there has to be, of course, some understanding as well. I mean, my own children, when the practice of confirmation was happening, when communion was being done, I told my children, no, you go and sit and observe and watch. You don't need to participate, but observe, because you will learn something from it. That's how integration is going to happen. And vice versa. If there is ever a Muslim school, and if someone sends a Catholic child to a Muslim school, the same principles should be there. I personally feel that that is the only way you will have that tolerance and integration that the world needs and should have. So I think that those imams or those leaders who don't allow their children to go or participate, or say on that day you come out of the class, don't be sitting there. I mean, the fact, I'm assuming it's the same here, and in all Catholic schools in Ireland, the day begins with prayer. And that's a brilliant and remarkable thing. And that should have a positive effect on Muslim students. Now, my own daughter, as an example, asked me when she started going to school, that what do I do now when they do the prayers in the morning? I said, well, you do prayer as well, but pray in your own way. You just raise your hands and you pray to God while they're praying to God, and your prayer will be accepted. And she does that. So that's how it has to be done, because if Muslims are living in a Catholic country, they have to accept certain things. And that is that it is a Catholic country, and they have to give that respect to that country. But equally, those who are in education and those who are in that institution equally must understand there is some flexibility to be given to Muslim children. So that's how I think it should happen. And if that does happen, and our community are in the forefront of that, we're in the forefront of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, we're in the forefront of explaining this to both our children and parents, not to be worried, not to be anxious. In fact, if anything, it'll just enrich their personalities.
Thank you. Thank you for your frank answer. Any more questions or comments?
So could you get the mic? Because sometimes you're at a distance, it's difficult to hear. Sorry, we'll bring you to the forefront now.
In fact, I wish to comment about what you said, because when you started your address with the prayer, it struck me. And it struck me because during my childhood, I'm 40 years old, but when I was a child, we used to start everything with prayer. Even in our state schools, we used to start in the morning with prayer. And I think that it's true. You said, for example, with the Quran and Muhammad, it was putting yourself in the presence of God through prayer. And I think it is a common factor that could link us all, because putting ourselves in front of a superior being, which we do believe, we both believe, that he gave us life out of love. So I think that is a common, much linking, very... Yes. And unfortunately, the thing is that unfortunately we lost this along the way in respect of the excuse maybe was in respect for others who either out of different faith or different values. But I think it should be reintroduced. And as you said, if different people from different religions pray together, it could be very more effective.
You talked about your daughter. She's my daughter.
Can you give us some ways which you think one can take place for interreligious dialogue? Ways of interreligious dialogue?
Different ways of recommendations of
No, not only prayers.
How we should integrate it.
Yes.
Basically, she's asking that
About
what are the ways for more interfaith dialogue? Okay, sorry.
I think today is the first step in how it should be done. The very fact that His Excellency the Bishop allowed this to be here and in this very establishment is a great sign of religious tolerance. And the fact that we're sitting here within this church, I'm assuming there's a church within this church, having this talk sends volumes of messages that should be going out to the people of Malta, and indeed I will be mentioning this when I go back to Ireland, and that this is how it should be done. Normally you'll see, I'm going from my own experience in Ireland, we have to hire halls or hotels or things like that to have interfaith dialogue. Rather, this is how it should be done. If a church offers to have the talk on their premises and a Muslim mosque offers their place for to have this dialogue, that will send volumes of messages to the world and to their own membership that this is the way we should be having dialogue. It's communication. This is how it should happen. I mean, the only other way to advance that is if ladies' organizations, Muslim ladies' organizations, Catholic ladies' organizations also have dialogue, also meet, also have discussions, youth organizations. If the Catholic youth organization met up with a Muslim youth organization, there's many ways this dialogue can happen and remove the differences and actually to find out we have a lot more in common than we do have in differences. You will find a very more peaceful society. That's how I think it should be done, how it could be done. And I mean, 100% credit to both His Excellency the Bishop and to the President of the Jamaat Ahmadiyya Malta, because they have started this. And this is, I'm very moved by this, to be honest with you. It's really having an effect on me that this is remarkable. I'm very impressed. And this is how you do it.
Wait.
I'm not a Catholic or Muslim, but I have faith. I've just moved to Gozo, so I've been here 4 months. And I think I see people talking from great spirit and depth. I see people in Gozo, I believe, possibly of Muslim faith. I don't know, because I don't communicate. And I want to know how we can help these people integrate better. Maybe it happens, and I'm curious, how do we help the people that have come to this island, to integrate better onto this island? I suppose that's a question for everyone. But how? What's practical? Let's not talk.
How is it? I think at some point or other there could also be a problem with communication with regard to language, because very often if we don't use the same language, in Gozo most people I think would speak English. So first of all we have to use the common language. But I think what your question brings me to mind is that nowadays, especially in Europe and European countries, we talk about now of multiculturalism. Now, what does this multiculturalism mean? I don't think we speak a lot about multiculturalism, and we don't know what it is, and we don't even practice it, because in today's world, in today's society, this move towards sort of globalization. You can't impede the movement of, especially in Europe. Europe now we believe with the free movement of people, trade and everything else. People are going to move from one country to the other and carry with them their beliefs, their traditions, their way of life. And I think this is a very big important issue. Some weeks ago, I read a very interesting article by Dr. Maurice Kauki. I think he's the brother of the ex-bishop. And the article was entitled, "Where Multiculturalism Has Failed Us." Because very often we say we believe in multiculturalism, we believe in tolerance, we believe in making peace. Actually, the theme of this conference is peace. But are we really ready for it? Are we really ready to tolerate people who do not share our beliefs, who do not share our ideas, and basically who do not share our idea of peace? Because we all speak of peace, we all want peace, but what sort of peace do we believe in? And I think the challenge, not only to the different denominations, but also to latter-day or modern society and the state is, yes, if we have to have a sane and sort of peaceful society, we have to have a society which is ready to tolerate, especially in the most essential thing, their beliefs and their way of life. Otherwise, I'll give you an example. In the Maltese Constitution, we have an article. Article 2 says the Catholic religion, the Roman Catholic religion, is the religion of Malta. Now, if that sort of thing had to be reinforced on society, then we have to throw all the others out. But the state of Malta doesn't believe that, and I think society doesn't believe that. I think we believe in tolerance, and the more we, I think, practice this sort of thing, I think we are inching all the time, forward towards a more tolerant society.
As the doctor mentioned, it is a huge issue. Also, journalists and people in Ireland are saying that multiculturalism does not work and is not working. I don't agree, personally, that it's not working. I do believe it is working. I think because of many reasons, not just because of religion. I think because of the number of years where the economy and workplaces and no jobs, etc., have been affecting Europe, and where migrants have been taking over jobs which the normal people of those countries would have done, and the national people of those countries have felt this thing, so they're looking to blame someone. So the best people they can blame are the immigrants into that country. And therefore, when they see Muslim doctors or Jewish doctors or for example, Ireland, non-Irish doctors doing the jobs and etc., they become afraid of something. So the question is that, which is being suggested now in Europe, in certain countries, that such people should not be allowed into the country anymore. And other faiths should not be allowed into the country anymore. And Muslims should, for example, in Ireland, they're saying Muslims should simply leave the country. That's not going to work either. So I think that education is extremely important. Educate the people, starting from the schools, starting from your homes, which was mentioned last night as well. It's my job to educate my children about tolerance of other faiths, about respecting other people's cultures, and all sorts of things like that, with why they eat different food, why they wear different clothes, etc., that they should respect that. And equally, the parents of other faiths, or non-faiths, or even secularists, or even atheists, whatever it may be, the parents must teach their children tolerance. Then you will see that society can come to a level where they will have an understanding of each other. And the thing is that for us as Muslims, if you see the early history of Islam, This is exactly what the Prophet Muhammad did. He simply established a civil society. You are free to practice your faith. You're free to be what you want to be, whether you are Christian or Jewish or Muslim. Even the pagans, people who had that concept, were free, but as a civil society they had to come together and unite together and respect each other's civil laws, etc., etc. So religion should be not trampled upon. So I think that it can happen, but it has to begin with education. Education of the home, education in the school, and education in the higher levels of third level education. And then I think you will see that many of these issues will be not gone forever or disappear completely, but at least you will have that tolerance amongst that generation and they will understand each other. That's my personal opinion. Education is the key, I think.
You say, like Tony Blair used to say, education, education, education. Well, we're using the word tolerance. My opinion of tolerance is that it has a grain of indifference. I think we should go a step beyond tolerance. If speaking of this seminar here, had we been tolerant to each other, we won't have arrived in doing it. We just go one step. We just went one step beyond tolerance. You think so? Any questions or comments?
My name is Gabriel. I come from Germany. For this, I have to excuse me for my bad English. I have a question. First, I would say thank you. I hear a lot of peace, and this makes me happy. But when I was young and I was on the school, I learned all Muslims have to go in the world to bring her religion to the other people with fire and sword. That I learned in my religion lessons. And my question is this true or not?
Can you repeat your question again, please? And could you hold the mic closer to your mouth, please? Can you bring the mic up?
Okay. I learned in my religion lessons when I was young that the Muslims would bring or should bring her religion to the other countries with fire and sword. With war, yes.
I don't understand.
Fire and sword. Fire and sword.
Fire and sword.
Yes.
Muslims were saying this?
Yes.
I think her question is that she studied at school, that they were saying that it's the duty of a Muslim that he should use fire and sword to preach Islamic faith.
Yes,
is
yes.
that true or wrong?
That's what I mean, yes, thank you.
Well, whoever was saying this was wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
This makes me happy, thank you.
If I may say something, maybe they were talking about symbols. I think in Christianity, the sword symbolizes the word of God, yes? The bishop and the fire, something else. So probably, no, the fire of the Holy Spirit brings illumination. So probably what, I don't know, but I'm not talking for my colleague here, but probably they were talking about symbols. And sometimes the sword is the symbol of the truth, because it cuts through, like the truth. And I think the fire is the symbol of illumination.
It has other images as well, unfortunately.
Any more comments or questions? Imam, I admire your frank talk to every question, and that encourages me to put some fastidious question.
I'm a very frank person. The Irish are very frank.
No, because it's a question. It's
part of our nature.
It's a question. It's a question.
It can get me into trouble as well.
It's a question that people in the street make. Is there a theology behind the actions of Islamists, suicide bombers? Is there a theology based on the writings of the Quran?
Obviously, they are interpreting it from somewhere. They're getting it from somewhere. My understanding of all this and my own research in this over the years, they are simply choosing verses of Quran and manipulating those words to suit their own needs. For example, all the verses which they quote regarding, that as one example would be